Trump case has begun in Boston. Both sides are all set to make their first in-person arguments in the federal court. The case centres on the administration's move to ban Harvard from enrolling international students. The Trump administration has argued that Harvard should no longer be allowed to host international students because it has violated civil rights by allowing anti-Semitic behaviour. However, Harvard says the administration's actions are not about fighting anti-Semitism or protecting Americans. Instead, the university calls it retaliation. Harvard claims the government is punishing them for exercising their First Amendment rights. The lawsuit says the administration wants to control Harvard's governance, curriculum, and even the views of its faculty and students. This dispute has left many Harvard aspirants uncertain about their futures. Let's take a listen.
Uncertainty of the situation is very hard for me. I don't know if I can go to Harvard. And so being unsure is very difficult for me. So what I would like in the coming weeks is that a decision is made, because now I don't know if I will make it to America.
我觉得挺荒谬的，感觉不像是现在可以出现的事情。然后就还是尤其是白天，大概看了一下其他人的，就是在刷了一下社交平台上面其他人的反应啊之类，就还是比较焦虑吧。因为，虽然不是什么敏感的专业，但是因为现在还完全没有开始流程，本来时间上就比较紧，因为学校那边是8月初就开学了。然后，再加上这个事情，因为他不知道会暂停多久，所以还挺担心的。
Well, this hearing has begun on a day that students are celebrating their graduation. Joining us to discuss this is Ross Feingold, a political risk analyst, joining us from Taipei. Ross, thank you as always for being here. Let's focus on this hearing and the significance of it. Of course, a long-running dispute between Harvard and the Trump administration that started over claims of anti-Semitism on campus and a lack of work being done by the university. Firstly, let's look at federal funding, because we know a lot of funding has been withdrawn from Harvard. Do you think that is enough and that will get the university board to reconsider the points the Trump administration are raising?
At the moment, the answer to that question is no, because it looks like Harvard is ready for a fight. They are fighting the Trump administration on multiple fronts, including the ban on Harvard admitting students from overseas. And there will probably be litigation around these various issues, which would play out separately. So at the moment, at least, even the withdrawal of federal funding, and that's billions of dollars that Harvard, across its various divisions, took in from the federal government for different types of research projects, whether that's in the social sciences or medicine or other areas. It looks like Harvard is willing to fight the Trump administration, so now it's going to play out in the courts.
Yes, now we've set the scene. Let's look at this cap on foreign students. Currently at around 31%. Trump has said that this should be down at 15%. This, of course, at the end of a term. And as foreign students set to come over and look for housing and accommodation as they start the term shortly, how impactful is this on those students, but also on the university as a whole?
Certainly, it's very disruptive to those students' lives. Right now, it's almost June, and they were planning on beginning studies at Harvard in August. They're traveling from overseas, as you said. They have to look for housing, and they're young people, so they're subject to their own emotions, and this is certainly something that's disrupting their lives. And also, unless other schools are going to suddenly make an accommodation to welcome Harvard students who are formerly Harvard students, it's too late to apply to other schools as well. Although, again, we have to see whether other schools, especially in the Ivy League, will make available a program to advance the timeline that students could transfer in, specifically the students who won't be able to go to Harvard. So that's also something to watch out for. But this litigation is going to take time. It's going to go to the appellate court. It might even go all the way up to the Supreme Court. It's clear the Trump administration is very firm in its view that Harvard is not being cooperative with the demands for information from the Trump administration. It's not being cooperative in explaining how it managed accusations of anti-Semitism among its foreign students. And now we're in litigation, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
Ross, this started as a conversation over anti-Semitism on campus. There's now talks about the influence of China at Harvard as well. Questions have been raised about ties that the university has with the Chinese Communist Party and the country as a whole. Do you think that this is moving forward and escalating to the point that it is just because of the Trump administration agenda, or do you think that they are raising a valid point?
There are certainly legitimate questions about funding that American universities have taken from China. When you take money from China, in many situations, you're basically taking money from the government, especially if you take money or enter into some kind of cooperative research program, student exchange with a university, because universities in China are controlled by the government. They're not private. And in many cases, major American universities have taken money from wealthy Chinese donors as well. Now, they may be independent of the government, but if they're operating in China and making money in China, they also have to rely on excellent relations with the Chinese government. So I'm struggling to be sympathetic to the universities because they're smart people and they should have assessed the risks of taking donations from Chinese companies or individuals or engaging in joint research efforts with Chinese universities or research institutions. So the onus was on them to do their due diligence and not necessarily assume that this would never be a problem.
Ross, one of the Harvard claims is that the government is punishing them for exercising their First Amendment right. This is a comment and a theme that they have spoken about since the start of this dispute with the Trump administration. Do you agree with them?
I don't know if this is really a freedom of speech issue. You know, the U.S. federal government has the right to admit or not admit foreigners into the country, whether that's for studies or for some other purpose like a tourism trip or a business trip. I would think Harvard's stronger argument would be a due process argument, and to argue that the decision by the Trump administration was hastily made without giving Harvard a chance to defend itself. So I find it a bit odd that they're making this into a free speech argument, since they're not, there's no right to have foreign students at their university.
Yes, and Ross, to bring an end to this discussion, what do you think is next for Harvard? And do you think that this could be a pattern that the Trump administration follows? We know that there's been action over Columbia University as well. Do you think this is just the start of potentially a domino of other universities being looked at and scrutinized for their policies?
For Harvard, there's going to be litigation on multiple fronts, whether that's the denial of federal funding for various research projects or the denial of Harvard's right to admit foreign students. So we have to watch out for ongoing litigation. It will go to the appellate courts and then up to the Supreme Court. But yes, I do think this is a model that the Trump administration is going to use with other universities that don't cooperate with the demands of the Trump administration. So those universities, especially prominent universities, so they can be made an example of. If they have ties to China, they should be prepared to be a target of the Trump administration.
Ross,